Madhava Kunjabi Hari Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jai Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopikana Balabha Girivara Dhari Girivara Dhari Gopikana Balabha Girivara Dhari Jasodhanandana Brajajanaranjana Jasodhanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamunatiravana Shadhe Jamunatiravana Shadhe Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Madhava Kunjabi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivedakatanja Astasaraswati Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Gaur Premanandi. This microphone has a mind of its own. Is there some way to... Right. The microphone was fine. It's just the stand was going berserk. A much anticipated appearance day of Lord Nityananda. I hope you're ready, because Lord Nityananda's presence in our life may not take the kind of prominence that it should be taking, but in the course of our discussion this morning, and I'm sure you'll hear more this evening, he's an essential personality for us to receive mercy from and take shelter of and become properly situated in the higher stages of bhakti, and not just the introductory stages of bhakti, giving the holy name. One of the characteristics of Lord Nityananda, you know this from the Namahata series of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was instructed, he was ordered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to go door to door. Bhaktivinoda calls it the marketplace of the holy name. Marketplace is a local term in India. It means the place where you go shopping. When you go shopping, people are looking for something material, usually. And the instruction for Nityananda was, instead, give them the pure holy name. Not just the holy name, but give the pure holy name. Give the pure holy name. But there's a condition. You require the proper price. So that's pretty ambiguous. What's the proper price? It can be this, or it can be that, or something else. But the principle, the currency, is faith. Proper price is faith. Now, supposing somebody doesn't have faith, Jagai Madai didn't have faith. Well, beneath their misbehavior, there was. But Lord Nityananda knew how to bring that faith out and generate faith, and that's the basis for taking shelter and receiving the pure holy name. So there's a nice instruction for us about Lord Nityananda. As we read in Adi Leela, Lord Nityananda represents Guru Tattva. In fact, he is Adi Guru, or all gurus are representatives of Adi Guru, because on behalf of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was instructed to give the holy name or to give Krishna, and that's the Guru function, the Guru Tattva function. Same with Balaram. Balaram was gifted and charged with this service of giving Krishna to others. And gurus have that function. Those who are performing properly that function, representing Balaram or representing Lord Nityananda or representing Lakshmana, giving Ram, giving his unrestricted Sheshatvam. Ramachandra is the one to be served, and there isn't someone else to be served. So getting to that place, that's the Guru Tattva function. And Lord Nityananda is that person on behalf of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the whole of Gaura Leela. Many of you have been to Mayapur. If you haven't been to Mayapur, certainly you've seen the photograph of the wonderful deities, the Panchatattva temple with the Panchatattva deity, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, next to him on his right or our left, Nityananda, and then Sri Advaita. And notice this behind Lord Nityananda, there's an effulgence. You see it? Because this photograph was taken on Nityananda's appearance day. There he is in Sridham Mayapur, Lord Nityananda. And in Vrindavan, similarly, on Lord Nityananda's appearance day, this isn't this year, but previous year, Lord Nityananda along with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And here's a close-up. And here's his lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, Nitai Padakamala. So we should understand from Chaitanya Charitamrita, we clearly understand that these two lords, Nityananda and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they're none other than Balaram and Krishna. Brajendra Nandana ye Sachi Sutta Hoilo say Balaram Hoilo Nitai. Krishna has come as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the son of Mother Shachi, and Balaram has come as Lord Nityananda. So these two are non-different. The time is different, the circumstance is different, the personality, the reality of the personality is not different. Simply in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela, he's in the mood of a devotee of Krishna, giving love for Krishna. And his chief assistant in giving love for Krishna is Lord Nityananda. In the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita, I'm not going to spend time on any one of these because it's a whole Chaitanya Charitamrita class plus. But the second verse of the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita is this one. Bande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityanandao Sahoditao Godo Daye Pushpavantao Chitra San Dao Tamo Nudao. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, who are like the sun and the moon. They have arisen simultaneously on the horizon of Goda to dissipate the darkness of ignorance and thus wonderfully bestow benediction upon all. So, introductory verse number 2, and there's a series of verses directly glorifying Lord Chaitanya, and we're going to just touch on the verses that are specific to Lord Nityananda, starting with text 7, just to give us a big picture of who is Lord Nityananda. May Sri Nityananda Ram be the object of my constant remembrance. Sankarshan, Sheshanag, and the Vishnus who lie on the Karana ocean, Garbha ocean, and ocean of milk are his plenary portions and the portions of his plenary portions. So the portions, if you see in the Sanskrit above, kala, that's the portion of a plenary portion, meaning those 3 Vishnu Tattva forms, or Vishnu forms. They're expansions of Nityananda or Balaram. And those that are directly expansions, Sankarshan and Sheshanag, Angsas and Kala, you can see in the verse above. That's text 7. Text number 8. I surrender unto the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, who is known as Sankarshan. Now he goes through each of these. In the midst of the Chaturvyuha, consisting of Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, he, Nityananda Ram, possesses full opulences and resides in Vaikuntha Loka, beyond the material creation, as does Sankarshan of the Vaikuntha realm. Number 9, I offer my full obeisances unto the feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, whose partial representation, called Karana Dakshayi Vishnu, lying on the Karana ocean, is the original Purusha, the master of the illusory energy and the shelter of all the universes. So there's Mahavishnu generating universes, and you can see, I'm sure, inside each universe there's his expansion, Garbhodaksha Vishnu. So this is a kala, or a portion of a angsa, or plenary portion of Balaram or Nityananda Ram. 10. I offer my full obeisances unto the feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, a partial part of whom is Garbhodaksha Vishnu. From the navel of Garbhodaksha Vishnu sprouts the lotus that is the birthplace of Brahma, the engineer of the universe. The stem of that lotus is the resting place of the multitude of planets. So within the stem, the planets are situated up and down. And Garbhodaksha Vishnu generates the stem and the lotus and Lord Brahma. Text number 11. This is it for the introductory verses. The remainder, chapter 5, expands on all of these. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, whose secondary part is Vishnu lying on the ocean of milk. That Kshirodakshay Vishnu is the super soul of all living entities and the maintainer of the universes. Sheshanag is his further sub part. Sheshanag is that form of uh, Anantashesh who lies at the bottom of the universe. There's different manifestations of Shesha, and this one is the further subpart of the Vishnu forms. The birthplace, the Janmastan of Lord Nityananda, is in Ekachakra. And here's the gateway into Ekachakra. Here's the place where he made his appearance. It marks not the very building, but it marks the spot where he appeared. And inside is a nice deity of Lord Nityananda. According to Chaitanya Bhagavat, when he appeared, there's a nearby Lord Shiva temple. And the deity of Lord Shiva is a Shivalinga, and he has been renamed Mayureshwara Shiva because, like a peacock, Mayura, he roared so loudly that when Nityananda was born, Advaitacharya, way over in Shantipur, heard it. And he understood why. Loud roar. Seeing Nitai, Lord Shankara danced exactly like a peacock. In this way, he fulfilled the purpose of his name, Mayureshwara. So there's the deity. Mayureshwara is the deity of Shiva near Ekachakra. So the village, which is near Ekachakra, has the name Mayura, but when he roared so loudly and started dancing like a peacock, the deity of Lord Shiva became known Mayureshwara. Shiva. Here's the temple. You see in the back side, that's the temple. And inside that back area, there's the deity of Mayureshwara, Shiva. In the place of Lord Nityananda's birth, there's deities, and these are the three deities. Conveniently, Nityananda is in the center, but the same sequence. Sri Krishna, Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita. They're all in the Vishnu Tattva category, but in Ekachakra, he's in the middle. Nice. And on the right side is that same deity extending his hand in the mudra of giving mercy. Here's the same deity on a different day. When he was very young, Nityananda in Ekachakra remained in Ekachakra for only 12 years. And one of the things that he did during those 12 years is he was playing with the other boys of the village. The village, Ekachakra village, was a place of high learning. It was a village. Some of you that are from India, you know what this is like. Practically the entire village was Brahmanas, Brahmana community. Really thick with Brahmanas. It's and very learned, and they had children, and the children would play as children do. And one of the places they would play was where there's a tributary of the Jamuna. No, a tributary of the Jamuna way up there in Ekachakra. It wasn't a big tributary, it was like a stream. And the stream was known as Kadamba Kandi. Kadamba Kandi. And when playing, Lord Nityananda found these deities, the center deity, at least Banka Roy. Later, the other deities were placed by his side, Radha by one side, Janava by the other side. And Banka means crooked or bent over or hunched, so he's in threefold bending form, but he became known by Nityananda's Banka Roy. And this was in his childhood. We'll see and hear later. When he disappeared, he entered into the deity, or specifically it says he went into the deity room and closed the door and didn't come out. So it's assumed he entered the deity. This is the place where the deity is worshipped, and this is by the side of the Kadamba Kandi where he actually found the deity. Later, the deity was placed in that temple. For 12 years as a small boy, he, Nitai, played. And his play was enacting pastimes of his own, meaning in the illustration here is showing Lord Ramachandra with bow and arrow. So he was Lakshman in his child play. And the other boys would follow the script, and he would say, do this and then do that and do the other thing. And he would direct the drama of the children reenacting the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra again and again and again, and Krishna again and again and again. And 12 years of play. He was not just frivolous, he was in the mood of being each of those persons, although he's in a Brahmin family, Nitai. And the adults would ask him, where have you heard all these pastimes? And he said, they're my pastimes. And they laughed, and they didn't understand who he really was. But that's nice. He was who he was. And at the 12th year, one sannyasi came. And because his father, Hadai Pandit or Hadai Ojha, being a Brahmana Grahastha, wanted to receive the mendicant sannyasi nicely. He fed him nicely, and nice exchanges on philosophy and so forth. And when it was time to part, the sannyasi made a request. And as a proper Brahmana, Vaishnava, Grahastha, it was whatever you want. Blank check. Whatever you want. I want your son. And although he had made the promise, he didn't want to, because he was, as parents are attached to their children, this is a transcendental exchange. He was attached to the Supreme Person who was his son. But he kept his word because he's a Brahmana. And Padmavati, his mother, looks pretty distressed, but she couldn't stop her husband from doing what his religious duty was. There's a beautiful description in Chaitanya Bhagavat of they're watching the two walk down the path that lead to Ekachakra and not to be seen again in Ekachakra. So one can imagine the feelings of his mother and father, what to speak of all the villagers and the other boys his age and so forth. Then comes in Chaitanya Bhagavat comes a really long section, longer than the childhood pastimes, which are elaborate and elaborate, the places that he went with the sannyasi. And it doesn't say how long he was with the sannyasi because he continued traveling, and it doesn't specifically say when they parted. But one of the places he went to is Pandharpur. Pandharpur is known as the place where Vittal, the deity here, is. And it was in this place that he made the acquaintance of Lakshmipati Tirtha, who gave him mantra diksha. Lakshmipati Tirtha is the guru of Madhavendra Puri, which means Madhavendra Puri and Nityananda were godbrothers. So it gives a little idea of his age. And from that point, instructions and teachings, and he continued his travel. Well known to many of us is the two places where he visited in Vrindavan. He spent some nice time in Vrindavan because it's a place of his pastimes. Very near the river Jamuna, some of you have been to Vrindavan. Imli Tal is a well-known place in Vrindavan. Very near to Imli Tal is this place, photographed here, Shingar Vat, or also known as Nityananda Vat. And this was kind of like his base. And from his base, he would go out and go back, and go out and go back. He was very accustomed to, he's a sannyasi, or a mendicant personality type. We don't have any indication of his taking sannyas because later he becomes married, but he was an avaduta person. And one of the other places he stayed while in Vrindavan was by the side of Radhakund. And here's the sitting place. And as we know, Radhakund at that time, this is before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, it wasn't the Radhakund that we see today. It was what Lord Chaitanya saw. It was a pond in the middle of a wheat field or rice field. But he knew, because it was his pastimes, and he had a sitting place. And this marks the sitting place that's today by the side of Radhakund. So he did this traveling extensively for 8 years. And one of the places he went when he was 20 was to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he was waiting, it's described, he was waiting for Mahaprabhu to begin his Sankirtan pastimes. Because in the beginning of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, he didn't exhibit the Sankirtan activities. And when he did, that's when Lord Nityananda came. And when Lord Nityananda came, as you see from the painting, there's such affection that everyone was astonished. They didn't know who Nityananda was, but they could see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knew. A transcendental reunion between the two lords. And the very first day that he arrived, Lord Chaitanya arranged for Vyasa Puja. Vyasa Puja indicating Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's accepting of Nityananda as Guru Tattva. And so elaborate, long description of that ceremony, Abhishek ceremony, and after all of that, he is now recognized as an intimate associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he remained in Navadvip with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu extensively. However, he had different activities with other devotees, and one of those other devotees was Malini. Malini was taking care of Nityananda like her own child. He's a full adult, but the relationship was like a dependent little child. And he would come to her home for meals and sit and wait for her to feed him. So the painting is showing. she's feeding him. And while she's feeding him, you notice on the windowsill there's a crow, because there was a pastime described where while she's feeding Nityananda, the crow zoomed into the room and picked up a bowl that was to be used for worship, a bowl that had ghee, and flew out the window with the bowl of ghee in his beak. And Malini started to cry, saying, "This was for the worship of my husband, and now it's gone." And we thought, like, I'm going to be in trouble, but she was invested in this nice service for her husband's deity worship. So Nityananda said, "No problem." And he ordered the crow to come back with the bowl. And immediately he flew in the window, placed the bowl of ghee right where it was, and flew out the window. And Malini fainted. Now, how much she understood his transcendental identity doesn't describe, but she was astonished. In course of time, then this relationship between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda developed further. The text here below is saying he gave some nice instruction to both Nityananda and Haridas Thakur to help him, to assist him in the Sankirtan. Go door to door, house to house, beg from the residents. It's a very nice passage. Please chant Krishna's name, worship Krishna, teach others to follow Krishna's instructions. Do not speak or cause anyone to speak anything other than this. Give the pure holy name to one and all. Because in Navadvip, like Ekachakra, it was a seat of higher learning, but because of the influence of Kali Yuga, the Brahmanas had become deviated from Vaishnavism. And he wanted, through the Sankirtan movement, Sankirtan process, to bring everyone, Brahmanas and everyone else, to the position of Vaishnavas. And the instrument, two primary instruments, were Haridas and Lord Nityananda. And so he did. He was Lord Chaitanya's instrument, right there in Navadvip. Now, along with this, it's described he would be very playful, because that was his nature. Sometimes he'd go swimming in the Ganges. And he'd go plunging and swimming around in the Ganges, and people, you see that person on the shore on the backside calling out, "Look out, there's crocodiles." So he didn't panic. He just splashed the crocodiles and told them to chant. Doesn't say if they chanted or not. But fearless and very playful. And in this same mood, as he was trying to carry out Lord Chaitanya's instructions, he came across Jagai Madhai. And long discussion, because it's a very important topic. Most sinful, most fallen, most wretched, Brahmin by birth, but totally degraded, drunkards, woman hunters, debauchees, curse, swear, steal, every bad thing. And from a distance, Lord Nityananda saw them carrying on in a drunken stupor, walking through the marketplace and stealing things. And he thought, if these two could become Vaishnavas, then everyone would accept the power and purity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So let me try. So he approached them. Please chant Hare Krishna. Chant Krishna's name. And in their drunken stupor, they insulted him and said bad things. And then one of them picked up a clay pot and, as we know, hit him in the head. And when he hit him in his head, although he has his transcendental body, by Leela, it showed the marks of blood from his forehead. And he was saying, that's okay, just chant Hare Krishna. But it wasn't okay with Lord Chaitanya. He received news that Lord Nityananda has been hit with a clay pot by these two fellows. Of course, it was one of the two, but Lord Chaitanya came immediately to deal with it. And when he came, he raised his hand with his Sudarshan chakra, ready to chop Jagai. And Madhai protested, but that isn't what stopped him. Lord Nityananda stopped him and said, you came in this age not to kill the demons, but to liberate the demons. So please do that. Don't punish them. Lift them. And Mahaprabhu, hearing the kind words of Lord Nityananda, accepted his kind words, but he made some requirement to Jagai and Madhai. And that is, you fall at Lord Nityananda's feet and beg forgiveness when you're finished. And you promise me you'll never do this again. These bad activities. You give up your bad activities. Yes, 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 yes. You can see in the painting there's Nityananda with some blood on his head. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with his arm raised and his Sudarshan chakra ready to fly. They fell at Nityananda's feet. They offered, because they're brahmanas by birth, they knew what. Is that your phone? Uh, okay. They offered prayers to the two lords and they became accepted. And again, the instruction, never do these things again. Give up these sinful activities. Because that's the same thing that Prabhupada did. The principle of requesting disciples to follow the four regular principles. So they can become brahmanas. So they can become Vaishnavas by chanting of the holy name. So these two things required. Jagai and Madhai not only did what he said, but they served the Vaishnavas. They built a ghat that's there today, known as Jagai Madhai Ghat. And they stood on either side, and as people would come to the ghat to take their bath in the Ganga with folded palms, they would beg each pilgrim or resident of Navadvip to forgive them for all their offenses. They were very repentant and wanting to serve the Vaishnavas. It's in this way, in Navadvip, the Sankirtan movement unfolded, and for some years, the two lords, along with Advaitacharya and many, many Vaishnavas, they engaged in tumultuous Sankirtan. And then there's a change of scene. The change of scene was when Nimai informed Nitai that he was going to take sannyas. And there's an explanation why. We'll hear that on Lord Chaitanya's appearance day, Gaura Purnima. And Nityananda looks very distressed. He was very distressed. He tried to persuade Lord Chaitanya to not do this. He was determined. And so he accepted. Lord Chaitanya wanted to inform a few people, said a handful of people, what his plan was before he took sannyas. And one of those persons who was a very dear devotee of his was Gauridas Pandit. Some of you have been to Mayapur, you know where Ambika Kalna is. It's up the Ganges. It takes a while to get there. And so the two lords went, here's the entrance. When they went inside, Lord Chaitanya informed Gauridas his plan. Gauridas had a very unique relationship with Lord Chaitanya. He said, "You can't do it." Why? "I won't be able to survive. And many other people who are so attached to you, transcendently attached to you, they won't be able to maintain their lives, so you can't do this." So Lord Chaitanya looked at Lord Nityananda and then made the following proposal. "I'm going to take sannyas, but I'll leave with you deities, the first of the Gaurnitai deities in history. I'll make deities of Lord Nityananda and myself that you can worship. And when you worship them, you will see me and you'll see Lord Nityananda in the deity." And so the deities were manifest. And what happened was, because he's a Brahmana, Gauridas said, "Wait a minute. If the deity is not different than you, then you stay and the deities can go." Lord Chaitanya smiled and said, "Very well." The deities got down from the altar and started heading for the gate to leave his home. And they stood on the altar. And Gauridas was bewildered and said, "Wait a minute. I see they're the same, so let them stay, you can go." And this went back and forth a few times. Very nice narration. Finally, he accepted. So he began worshiping these deities. And he had a brother, an important person in Lord Nityananda's life was his brother, Suryadas Sarakale. So here's the same deities with their various mudras, dressed in different times of the year and different outfits. Very nice deities. Very special place. Ambika Kalna, the home of Gauridas Pandit. And sure enough, he followed through his plan. He went to Katwa, where he accepted sannyas from Keshava Bharati. The painting is showing Madhu the barber. Madhu the barber his hand was trembling as he was cutting Mahaprabhu's long hair. And he didn't want to do it, but he was instructed to do it. So he did it. He was weeping and weeping. And so at Katwa, there's a samadhi. There's different samadhis. There's one of his Gadadhar Das, not Gadadhar Pandit. Another is the samadhi of the barber. And there's another samadhi next to his samadhi, the samadhi of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's hair. So it's a big event, and all the rituals are performed. Present were others who Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had informed: Gadadhar Pandit, Mukunda Dutt, Chandrasekhar. Chandrasekhar was a Brahmana. He performed the ceremony, and Keshava Bharati gave him his sannyas mantras, and off he went with his danda and kamandalu, and people weeping because they knew they were going to be separated from him. And so he kindly gave his association and made some parting instructions to the assembly, and off he went. But you know what happened when he went. He wanted to go to Vrindavan to be with Krishna. For 3 days, he was delirious. He didn't even know where he was. And Lord Nityananda kept giving him instructions to go to the wrong place. You'll hear more on Gaur Purnima, I'm sure. Finally, after 3 days, he ended up in Shantipur, the home of Advaitacharya. Advaitacharya worshipped him. Advaitacharya called for Sachi, his mother. Long description. Sachi made the request, I know you want to go to Vrindavan, but Krishna is also in Puri. Please go to Puri instead of Vrindavan. Make that your base. Because devotees from Bengal, they go every year to Puri to attend Rath Yatra. And this way, when they come back, I can get news of you. But if you go to Vrindavan, I may never hear of you again. Please don't go to Vrindavan. Go to Puri. So he obliged his mother. It's a Leela. And it's a wonderful Leela. So as he was traveling, they headed in a southerly direction. Those of you that know your geography. Shantipur and Navadvip going in a southerly direction is where Puri is. So they traveled and traveled. And as they were getting close to Puri, there was a Shiva temple very near to Puri. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard of that temple. The painting is showing he handed his danda to Lord Nityananda so he could cross the river and go to the Shiva temple. And as he was gone, heading for the Shiva temple, Nityananda decided to break the danda. And, that was not a nice thing to do, but it was a transcendental thing to do. And there's lots of text describing he held the danda in his hand and had a conversation with the danda. Oh, danda, it is not proper that he whom I carry within my heart should carry you. Oh, danda, do not try to become the lord of my lord. Do not engage Mahaprabhu in carrying you any more. And said many other things. In this incarnation, Gauranga never bestows danda or punishment to anyone. Therefore, this ekadanda doesn't look good in his hands. And many other things he said. The danda didn't reply, but he was having this conversation with the danda. And on this basis, he broke the danda. And when he broke the danda, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came back and asked him, "Where's my danda?" And he didn't know what to say. So he said, "I broke only a piece of bamboo. If you cannot forgive me, then punish me appropriately." And where this discussion took place was very near the beginning of this Atara Nala bridge. It's a very celebrated place, a bridge with 18 arches. It's a nice place. As you see it in the distance, there's the Puri temple. So Lord Chaitanya said, "It's my only possession. And you broke it?" He said, "Well, you were in ecstasy, you swooned and you fell on the danda and it broke, and what can I do? If you feel I've done something wrong, then you can punish me appropriately." And Lord Chaitanya said firmly, "I don't want to travel with you anymore." There's two choices. You go ahead to Puri, I'll stay behind. Or I'll go ahead to Puri and you stay behind. He said, No, you go, you go. And this was a pretext for a pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entering the temple, falling in ecstatic emotion, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya coming to rescue him without the others in his company and doing what he did. It was a Leela episode. And then later, Nityananda and the others came. There's a description that he went right on the altar and embraced Lord Balaram. Who knows what the pujaris had to say about that, but that's what he did. He's just a madman, transcendental madman. After he reached Puri, he stayed for a couple of years. Each year, the devotees from Bengal, just as his mother said, they would come to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One time when Shivananda Sain was bringing the devotees to Puri, Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda was very upset with him and kicked him in the chest. And his wife, Shivananda Singh's wife, was upset like anything. What's doing? He said, no, 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 this is mercy. To get the foot of Lord Nityananda on my chest is the greatest mercy. It's not a punishment. It's his way of giving his mercy, which is a little unusual, kicking someone. In this way, they were together in Puri for some time, having ecstatic kirtan in the temple. And one time, when falling on the ground, here's a nice painting of Lord Nityananda picking him up, holding him, trying to revive him back to external consciousness. And if you remember back from the introductory verses of Chaitanya Charitamrita, one of the expansions of Lord Nityananda is Anantashesh. So this is like Anantashesh being the resting place for Lord Narayana. I hope you see the connection. It's a pastime. The Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda pastime. And for some time they stayed. Of course, Mahaprabhu did a South India tour, came back, etc. And at some point, Lord Chaitanya said privately to Lord Nityananda, I want you to get married. And Lord Nityananda, that's the shaved-headed one, that's Lord Chaitanya. The one with long hair, that's Lord Nityananda. He thought this was a punishment. Well, your intimate associates, mostly, they're renounced, and I'm very renounced, so why are you asking me to do this? And the explanation was, I just see you that way. And so with that instruction, he accepted the instruction. And the place where he went to fulfill the instruction was the home of Suryadas Sarakale, because Suryadas Sarakale had two daughters. And these two daughters were Janava and Vasudha. Now, Suryadas didn't want to say no because he's Lord Nityananda, but he didn't want to say yes because he's an Avaduta. How are you going to take care of my two daughters? But he then realized that was the wrong move. And so there was a wedding and a big, 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 big production. And the backside of this home, there's the place where they sat after the wedding. Here's the place. And there's a nice big tree. Look on the left side, there's the shrine where they sat. Notice the yellow sign above the shrine. Here's a closer look of what the shrine, and its little sign says, it just marks the spot. And inside that little shrine, there's the imprint of Lord Nityananda's lotus feet. And so, sure enough, following the instructions of Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda became a grahastha. This is a very old photograph of the Murti of Lord Nityananda and his two wives. Here's a second dressing of the same deity. And the more modern version is the nice deities of Lord Nityananda, Vasudha, and Janava. After some time, there was a son, the son of Lord Chaitanya and Janava, was named Virabhadra. Some of you have been to Ekachakra and you know across the street from where these childhood pastimes occurred and the place where the Banka Roy deity was found is the headquarters of Virabhadra. And later, through passage of time, Virabhadra also became a grahastha, and there were descendants from Virabhadra, and eventually they became known as the Nityananda Vamsa, which is not an authorized procedure. You don't become a special entitled person by Gaudiya teachings or by Vaishnava teachings because of birth, but they feel themselves very entitled, and it was became a certain kind of a problem over time. As a grahasta, Lord Nityananda would still keep Lord Chaitanya's association, and sometimes Advaita Acharya visiting in Puri would invite the two lords for his meals, and they would come. And here's a nice painting of a pastime which I'm going to read because it's really nice. And you see where it's marked. Madhya Lila chapter 3. Haridas Thakur was also invited, and he said, "No, I'll just take a morsel and sit outside," because of his mood of humility, which was honored by Advaitacharya. Advaitacharya took Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu within the room, and the two lords saw the arrangement of the prasadam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was especially very pleased. He said, "Frankly, I will personally take the lotus feet of anyone who can offer Krishna such nice food and place those lotus feet on my head, birth after birth." Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw there were 3 leaf plates, and they were with mounds of prasad already offered. So he requested an empty leaf plate so he could take portions off the big mound of prasad and take the food that he was capable of eating. But he didn't understand Advaitacharya's intentions because he thought there's 3 plates, there's for the 3 of us, Advaitacharya, Nityananda, and himself. Advaitacharya said, "No, I'll serve the prasad, you two lords take." So he said, "Let me have a little quantity of vegetable and rice." Advaitacharya said, "Just sit down here on these seats." Catching their hands, he sat them both down. Mahaprabhu, it's not proper for a sannyasi to eat such a variety of foods. If he does, how can he control his senses? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't accept the way that Advaitacharya wanted it, and Advaitacharya said, "Please, give up your concealment. I know who you are, and I know the confidential meaning of your accepting the sannyas order." Mahaprabhu protested, "I can't eat so much." Advaitacharya said, "You don't have to eat everything. You can eat as much as you can and leave the balance on the plate." Mahaprabhu again protesting, "I will not be able to eat so much food, and it's not the duty of a sannyasi to leave remnants." So Advaitacharya is going to get him. "Look, in Jagannath Puri, you eat 54 times a day, and each time you eat, there's many hundreds of pots. The amount of food that 3 people can eat does not constitute even a morsel for you. In proportion to that, these edibles are not even 5 morsels of food for you. By my great fortune, you have come to my home, Please do not juggle words, just eat. Do not talk. Like, shut up. Advaitacharya supplied water, washed the hands of the two lords, and then comes the exchange with Nityananda. Nityananda, I have undergone fasting for 3 days, continuously. I had hoped to break my fast. Although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was thinking it's too much, Nityananda is thinking it's not enough. Although I'm invited to eat by Advaitacharya today, also as a fast. So small a quantity of food would not fill even half of my belly. Advaitacharya, sir, you're a mendicant traveling on pilgrimage. Sometimes you eat fruits and roots, and sometimes you simply go on fasting. I'm a poor Brahmin, and you've come to my home. Please be satisfied whatever little food you have received, and give up your greedy mentality. Lord Nityananda, whatever I may be, you have invited me. Therefore, you must supply me as much as I want to eat. Advaita Acharya continued making funny remarks. You are a reject Paramahansa, and you have accepted the renounced order of life just to fill up your belly. I can understand that your business is to give trouble to Brahmanas. You can eat 10 to 20 manas of rice. I'm a poor Brahmana. How shall I get so much rice? Whatever you have, though it be a palmful of rice, please eat it and get up. Don't show your madness and strew the remnants of food here and there. Joking back and forth like this. So then next is, as they ate half of a pot of vegetable or half a pot of rice, Advaitacharya would come and fill it up full. And Mahaprabhu protested, how much more can I go on eating? Advaitacharya, please do not give up whatever you have already, I have already given you. Whatever I am giving you, you may eat half and leave half. They're smiling, enjoying. Nityananda again complaining, my belly is not yet filled. Please take away your food. I have not taken the least of it. Then Nityananda took a handful of rice, threw it on the floor in front of him as if he was angry. 2 or 4 grains of the thrown rice touched Advaitacharya's body. He began to dance in various ways with the rice still stuck to his body. When the rice thrown by Nityananda Prabhu touched his body, Advaitacharya thought himself purified by the touch of remnants thrown by Paramahansa Nityananda. Therefore, he began dancing. Advaitacharya said, my dear Nityananda, I have invited you, and indeed I've received the results. You have no fixed caste or dynasty. By nature, you're a madman. To make me a madman like yourself, you have thrown the remnants of your food at me. You did not even fear the fact that I'm a Brahmana. Nityananda said, these are the remnants of food left by Lord Krishna. If you take them to be ordinary remnants, you have committed an offense. If you invite at least 100 sannyasis to your home and feed them sumptuously, your offense will be nullified. Advaitacharya replied, I shall never again invite another sannyasi, for it is a sannyasi who has spoiled all my Brahminical regulations, etc. I wanted to read this because most of what I'm doing is just giving kind of like an overview, but the sweet exchanges between Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, and Advaita Acharya is very special. I wanted to share that. For some part of the year, Advaita Acharya would reside in Puri, and this was the scene where he invited Lord Nityananda and Haridas and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to have meal at his home. And now is another section, the merciful nature, transcendently merciful nature of Lord Nityananda pictured here is when the younger nephew of Rupa and Sanatan wanted to leave home. He went to Navadvip. He wanted to see the places of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. Lord Nityananda, being omniscient, he met him there. He made an elaborate tour of the places of Mahaprabhu's pastimes and described because he was present. And then granted Jiva Goswami residence in Vrindavan with his two uncles. And he described to him what you see in the back is the Adbhuta Mandir, prophesied way back then, which is now becoming the Temple of Vedic Planetarium, that in time this wonderful, tall, effulgent temple will rise in Navadvip, because then it wasn't anything like that. And with that, Nityananda said, before you go to Vrindavan, you go study under Madhusudana Vachaspati, and he will train you thoroughly in all the scriptural knowledge that you need in order to do the service that's awaiting you in assisting Rupa and Sanatan. So that's what happened. He gave him association of Rupa and Sanatan and residence in Vrindavan. Similarly, he gave association to Raghunath Das Goswami with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Long description. There isn't time for the length and breadth of that long description. Raghunath Das, from childhood, had met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on his way to Ramakeli to meet Rupa and Sanatan, and on his way back, he received remnants of Mahaprabhu through the mercy of Advaita Acharya. And he had developed transcendental attachment to Mahaprabhu. He wanted to be with Mahaprabhu, and he didn't want the opulence of his Majumdar family. And he tried to get away and tried to get away. Many things happened, but it was unsuccessful again and again. He finally understood, transcendentally understood, if I get the mercy of Lord Nityananda, then I can get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Important principle. And so he went to Panihati, where Lord Nityananda was visiting, and the painting shows when he saw Lord Nityananda in the assembly of many, many devotees, he paid his obeisances from a distance. And in a transcendental way, Lord Nityananda called him. You're hiding. Come here immediately. I want to punish you. And he paid his obeisances in front of him. He put his foot on his head and saying, you're a cheat. You're a bad person. You should be punished. And the punishment is, you have some wealth. You use your wealth to feed all the devotees. And the Panihati festival, chipped rice with milk and chipped rice with something, dahi. And so the Panihati festival happened. And he wanted the association Mahaprabhu during the kirtan. Mahaprabhu appeared transcendentally, such that Raghunath Das could see. And he then left the association of Lord Nityananda, and by transcendental arrangements, he was able to escape the clutches of his family and go join Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Puri. Similarly, Lord Nityananda gave association to Krishnadas Kaviraj, because Krishnadas Kaviraj had heard some criticism of Lord Nityananda, and from his brother, Miniketan and Ramdas and Nityananda were criticized by his brother. He chastised them severely. Lord Nityananda appeared before Krishnadas in a vision and instructed him, go to Vrindavan, take shelter there, don't be afraid, everything will be attained by you, all things will be attained. He mercifully granted Krishnadas Kaviraj this instruction of residence in Vrindavan, and immediately Krishnadas, elderly, went to take shelter in Vrindavan and did some wonderful, wonderful service to all of us by writing Chaitanya Charitamrita and other things he wrote, and giving his nice association to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and others. Merciful Lord Nityananda. In Adi Lila, Prabhupada writes about Lord Nityananda. Anyone desiring to become expert in the service of Sri Radha and Krishna should always aspire to be under the guidance of Swarup Damodar Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami. To come under the protection of the Goswamis, one must get the mercy and grace of Nityananda Prabhu. I hope it's clear. He's such an important person for us. In a verse that's taken from one of the songs, Nitai Padakamala, by Narottam Das Thakur, this stanza is there, quoted by Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Bhakti Siddhanta, in Chaitanya Bhagavat, says, if one actually wants to enter into the dancing party of Radha Krishna, he must firmly catch hold of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, just like those verses at the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita, written by Krishnadas, saying the same thing. So taking shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda grants one very special association. It's not explicit in Chaitanya, in Rupa Goswami's writings. It's the Raga Marga or Raganuga Bhakti stage of bhakti, but it requires the mercy of Lord Nityananda. Here's the verse, or here's the song, Nitai Padakamala. Because of time, I'm not going to read it all, but in this very celebrated song, many of you know the verse, Nitai Padakamala Koti Chandra Shushitala. He says the same thing that was quoted by Bhakti Siddhanta. So there's confirmation, and here is Lochan Das Thakur. Lochan Das Thakur wrote this song, Nitai Guna Mani Amar. And in this song, he says, it is said that Sri Nityananda Prabhu is more merciful, more magnanimous, more munificent than Sriman Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Now, we had this discussion in Naperville. How can someone who is representing another be more merciful, because whatever they have in the way of mercy comes from the one that they're distributing mercy on behalf of? So they're equal. Has to be, logically. On the other hand, the understanding is the merciful Mahaprabhu gave special empowerment and entitlement and instruction to Lord Nityananda to give his mercy so liberally. And so he's more merciful. Although the mercy that he's giving is Lord Chaitanya's mercy. It's a nice understanding. And with a fair price, proper price, faith. And when there isn't faith, Jagai Madhai, create it so they can receive it. That's the merciful nature of Lord Nityananda. Prabhupada's teaching many times. To get the mercy of Krishna, you have to receive the mercy of Radha. To get the mercy of Radha, receive the mercy of Mahaprabhu. Get the mercy of Mahaprabhu, get the mercy of Lord Nityananda. How do you get the mercy of Lord Nityananda? Approach the Jagais and Madhais in this world. There's lots of them. Take your pick. to get the mercy of Lord Nityananda, to get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, to get the mercy of Radharani, to get the mercy of Krishna. And see the connection as you're doing it. So there's the two lords. We're going to end, try to end. He ended his pastimes by going back to Ekachakra, entering into the temple, and disappeared. Banka Roy disappeared. After he disappeared, there's a very celebrated event where there was a big festival. Narottam Das Thakur had been trained by Jiva Goswami, and he and two others went to establish the teachings of Mahaprabhu throughout the land in eastern part of India. And he went to Couture. They had a big festival, and during this big festival, both Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya had already departed this world. The festival was so ecstatic that they both manifest during the kirtan party, and everyone could see. And they were pretty amazed, to say the least. After this event, Lokanath Goswami instructed that 6 sets of deities be installed in Katuri. And there's the names of the 6 sets of deities. I happen to have a photograph of one of the sets of deities, Radha Brajamohan. Very nice deities in Katuri. I'm going fast because of time. It's becoming long. From Nityananda Charitamrita by Vrindavan Das. All glories to Lord Nityananda, the dear most associate of Sri Gauranga. No one is equal to you in the 3 worlds. You are the reservoir of transcendental bliss who bestow prema bhakti for Mahaprabhu, the giver of the Supreme Lord. That's the Guru function. Those who serve you achieve pure devotional service. O Lord, you delivered all the fallen souls, forgiving their grave offenses. Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Sri Nityananda are the 2 matchless lords who appeared for the good fortune of this world. There's a book written by Vrindavan Das Thakur called Nityananda Charitamrita, and this is taken from that book. Now, it's almost 9 o'clock, so I don't know what to do, because there's a little bit more. One of them is an Ashtaka, Nityananda Ashtaka. How are you doing with time, oh audience? It's a fasting day, okay. Here's that verse from Nitai Padakamala. You've already seen it. Here's a little recording from Prabhupada speaking. He installed in 1975 Gaur-Nitai deities in Caracas. The Nitai is spelled a little differently. Karuna Gaura-Nitai. And after visiting Caracas, he visited the Atlanta Temple, and here's a little recording of Prabhupada speaking at the Atlanta Temple, and I hope it works. Whoops. It's not working. It's playing, but it's not, there's no sound. Let me see if I can get it to work.
temple. So I'm very glad to see you, and I'm coming first of all Mexico City. Yes.
Gosh. Technology is great when it works. And if you don't know how to make it work, it's not great. Because there's this whole the recording is Prabhupada entering. He he loses himself in emotion about the merciful nature of these two lords, and I'm sorry, it's not working. What? Looks like what?
It seems that it was working when you disconnected the...
Yes, it was just when I disconnected the visual. But the very next slide is the Ashtaka, and it shows the words of the Ashtaka. So I can play the audio, but not the video along with the audio, because I don't know what I'm doing. And there's different systems, and this may be one of those different systems. Okay, so we'll just do it this way. Here's Prabhupada.
temple. So I'm very glad to see you, and I'm coming first of all Mexico City. Hmm? Yes. So Mexico City, then Caracas, then Miami. I see your temple is the best.
Your temple is the best.
So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very kind. Parama Purana Pahudujana. Two lords, Nitai Gaura Chandra, Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They are very kind. They have appeared just to reclaim the fallen souls of this age. So, they are more kind than Krishna. Krishna, he is also very kind. He comes to deliver, but Krishna demands the first of all surrender. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not demand surrender. He is so kind. So, take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and be happy. Thank you.
Now, while Prabhupada was conducting his service on behalf of Gaurnitai and installing Gaurnitai deities, he didn't exhibit this emotion, but the emotion was driving him, being an instrument of the most merciful, more merciful than Krishna, and especially Lord Nityananda. Now, I don't know what to do. I can't get. If somebody in the room knows how to get both the visual and audio to work together, then you can hear Nityanandastaka, or you can just hear it without seeing the words. You want to hear it without seeing the words? It's Bengali because this is the translation. Let's try it. Oh, Govinda. Oh, there. Sarachandra Bhrantim Sphuradamalakantem Gajagatim Hari Premonmattam Dhrita Paramasattvam Smitamukham Sada Ghurnetram Karakalita Vetram Kalibhidam Bhaje Nityanandam Bhajanatarukantam Niravadhi Rasanamagaram Svajanagana Sarvasvamatulam Tadiyeka Prana Pramita Vasudha Jahnapatim Sada Premonmadam Paramaviditam Mandamanasa Bhaje Nityanandam Bhajanatarukantam Niravadhi Shachi Sunu Preshtham Nikhila Jagadishtam Sukhamayam Kalau Majjajjivo Dharana Karano Dama Karunam Hare Rakhanada Bhava Jaladhi Garvo Nati Haram Bhaje Nityanandam Bhajanatarukantam Niravadhi Aye Bhratar Nirnam Kalikalushinam Kindu Bhavita Tatha Prayaschittam Rachaya Yadanaya Sataime Vrajanti Tvamitham Saha Bhagavata Mantrayati Yo Bhaje Nityanandam Bhajanatarukantam Niravadhi Yatheshtamre Bhrata Guru Hari Haridhani Manisham Tato Vasamsaram Buddhitaranadayo Mayi Idam bahuspotair atatiratayan pratigriham bhaje nityanandam bhajanatarukantam niravadhi balat samsarambo nidhiharanakundhodbhavamaho Satam Shreyasindhunati Kumudabandhum Samuditam. I think what I'll do is I'll find the link, forward the link to you, the YouTube, because on the screen when it's playing properly, you get the English translation of all of the 8 verses. So if you, I'll find the link, forward it to Subal, and you can forward it to what? You have it. You found it. Okay, so then you can forward it to everybody or whatever. Okay. Sorry about that, but the technology gods wouldn't let it happen. And it's different in different systems, so I don't know what to anticipate. Something connected with this. Okay, so Nityananda Ram Ki Jai. Here's a close-up photograph of the deity of Nityananda in Sridham Mayapur on Nityananda Trayodashi. So any discussion? Subal.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. I wanted to ask you um, for so, in one sense, your personal meditation and understanding of being in the shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, um, how we can not only in the day of his appearance meditate on that, but actually feel consistently throughout, my Krishna conscious life under the shelter of Lord Nityananda's lotus feet.
Well, nice question. I'm not a very advanced devotee. And it's not just cute, it's I'm not a very advanced devotee. For me, it's the life of a sannyasi, the life of one who, whatever the ashram, gives the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu here and there and everywhere. That's taking shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. Now, being a not very advanced devotee, I have an absorption in the activity without sufficient absorption in the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. He is the one for whom I'm doing this. However, the one who has my heart is Srila Prabhupada, and that mercy of Nityananda comes to me through him. The Guru Tattva principle comes to me through him. And then, of course, the rest of it is cyclic succession, but that's the link for me. And I would say, to be honest, incrementally, little by little, the more elevated sentiments stir from time to time, sometimes more, sometimes less. So the answer to your question is subjectively, personally, and then going forward for any one of us to be absorbed. It's just, the starting point is already identified. And then the contemplation for whom? Because it's easier, well, by taking shelter of the right activity, the lower grade activities fade. The importance of them fade. And the higher grade, meaning service that's of a transcendental nature, is absorbing and satisfying. But doing service mindlessly without the mindfulness or the devotion is a little easier than the devotion part. The devotion, but when the devotion becomes awakened, then going forward in time, focus more on the devotion side along with the activity side. So they always engage in devotional service and always think of me. So the always think of me part. For whom am I doing this? Cultivate that going forward in time. And that's an instruction for myself, not just for you or the other persons here. That's the bhakti principle. It's part of it is service, and the other part is the attachment to the person. In this case, the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, because they give access, just as that nice expression, they give access to the six Goswamis in a meaningful way, not just reading and hearing and appreciating, but a deeper and meaningful way to enter into the pastimes of Radha Krishna. That's Raga Bhakti. It's an elevated stage of devotional practice, but it starts with sadhana properly guided. There's my answer to your question. You want to add anything?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat. My respectful obeisance to you. Maharaj, as you were mentioning, Nityananda Mahaprabhu, when he was on the altar, he embraced Balram. So this reminded me of Revati Nandan, devotee, wherein he used to write letters and place in front of Jagannath. Was very long letters. Revati Nandan, the tall African American.
Your voice is trailing off at the end.
Yeah, as you were mentioning about Balram,
Balaram.
Nityanand on the altar, he used to embrace Balram.
Yes.
So it reminded me of a devotee named Revati Nandan.
Oh.
He used to keep letters, write long letters, and place in front of the deities, Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra. Yeah.
I know a Prabhupada disciple, Revati Nandan. Same one?
No, Revati, the African American who used to
African American. Okay, I don't know.
who used to distribute books on O'Hare Airport, tall guy.
Oh, yeah.
He left the body on the plane.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm with you. Now you're reminded of him.
Yeah. Means he used to write very nice letters, very nice handwriting. He used to place in front of Lord Jagannath.
Yeah?
Like that.
Nice.
I think, Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Karo Krishna Shiksha, and nothing else.
Yes.
That's teaching of Nityananda.
Yes, Mahaprabhu's instruction.
So there are many prayers, shelter of Krishna, surrender to Krishna. So we come to Krishna consciousness, we have a lot of weakness of our heart, mind.
Yeah.
So as time goes, it's a little struggle, it's a fight to be Krishna conscious. We try, but we fail in this endeavor, or our attempts are very weak. So how we can make it in being a proper state of mind, and how that Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, and that power is there.
Well, your question, in one sense, is already answered by the question. That is practice. And practice and practice with faith. And gradually the practice makes things more pure, and the faith makes things more deep or more energized on the subtle side, the affection side. There's the behavior and there's the feeling part. So when those two are aligned or intersect, then it's quite natural. It's removing the disease and restoring the health. So that's how to practice and take the principle, the bhakti principle, besides the practice, and wanting to please the object of love. You're asking a nice question. Let me answer it in a different way. Same answer in a different way. Just before here, I was in Naperville. We had some discussion about Shesha and Shesha Tvam, the quality of Shesha. So we spent some time discussing, and I have a little document. I can make it available to, I guess, Subal, and you can circulate it, or you can pass it along. It means there's Shesha and Sheshi. And for the Shesha, there's one object, and other objects are subordinate to the one object. It's the one object and the one object and the one object. And that Shesha, Sheshatvam, is having as a principle, there's one place of service and shelter. It's bhakti. And as that becomes matured by practice and practice and practice, and the feeling side, then it moves on its own. It's no longer sadhana, it's spontaneous. So you and I, and we, all of us, are meant to come to that stage. It doesn't happen mechanically; it happens devotionally, only by practice. And then the feeling side is the healthy side. So what the healthy side is, we want to please the object of our devotion. So you have to be focused on the object of devotion, because otherwise it's activity and activity and activity and activity, and where it's going is not so clear. But it's the activity is wholesome, so we just keep doing the activity without the clarity of the object for whom I'm doing my activities. Becoming attached, that's the spontaneous stage of bhakti. Becoming attached, not just by regulation in doing, but by genuine love for an object of love. That's the spontaneous stage. What we're hearing, just to connect us with this morning's discussion, the access to that is through Lord Nityananda. Now, in the writings, I'm going further with your question, but in the writings of Raghunath Das Goswami, who is describing the Ragamarg path, he says two things. Give up pride, that means embrace humility, give up pride, and take shelter of Swarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami, which is what he did. So how do you get the shelter of Swarup Damodar and Raghunath Das Goswami? And Rupa Goswami? Prabhupada said, through the mercy of Lord Nityananda. There's a key to get to that raga stage, the spontaneous stage, where it's not just behaviors or activities or sadhana, but it's spontaneous. That's where we want to go. And there's a process. Embrace the process. This morning's discussion is very important discussion. The appearance day of Lord Nityananda is very important. Having that, Subal's question, having that in our heart, it's very important. And honestly speaking, how much do we think like that? Some persons do, and most persons, they just do their service in a regulative manner, which is fine. It's very, very, very high on the pyramid of fortunate souls. And then there's more fortunate. Nityananda can give us access to that. And the six Goswamis can give us access to that. They can give us this very, 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 very special mercy. And some have opened their hearts to receive it. So become one. It's an open invitation. That's the how-to. How's that? Anyone else? Yes, Krunanidhi, you want to come forward and get the microphone? You want someone to bring it to you?
Maharaj, it is stated in scripture that you cannot worship Gauranga Mahaprabhu without Lord Nityananda. Hene Ita Binu Bhai Radha Krishna Pate Nai. So in that song, so my question is that, and also Prabhupada has mentioned that it is like Ardha Kurkutanaya, means like is a half hand philosophy, like to worship only Mahaprabhu and without Lord Nityananda is just like a half
Yes.
hand pride,
Yes.
like that philosophy. So my question is that I have seen in some temple they have only Radha, Krishna and Gaurang Mahaprabhu. So how is that? Is that a proper way to worship?
Subal, help.
He is pointed out that he have noticed in temples there's the deity of Mahaprabhu without Lord Nityananda,
Yeah.
and he's asking about
Why?
how appropriate how appropriate is that?
Oh, Bhaktisiddhanta, Krunanidhi. Have you seen the altar at the headquarters of Bhaktisiddhanta? Have you seen? Mahaprabhu, without Nityananda. So your question is how appropriate. Ask Bhaktisiddhanta. You know, the one answer is you don't. They're not alone. You see Mahaprabhu. You see Lord Nityananda. The deity may be Mahaprabhu deity, but the worshipper understands Mahaprabhu is not alone, and part of that is, what we've just been discussing. If you want the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, how do you get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya? The mercy of Lord Nityananda. How do you get the mercy of Lord Nityananda? It's not just by a deity worship, it's by approaching the Jaghais and Madhais of the world. That's my understanding, because Bhaktisiddhanta was and propagated both on the platform of spontaneous devotion. He followed, his logo, right? The Gaudiya Math logo. There's Vidhi Marg and there's Raga Marg on his logo. So he knows all about Raga Marg. And he that's part of it. That's a core part of his mission. He's giving it. It's not absent. Now, Gornitai, for example, this is for a long time, the deities in New York, Radha Govinda, were worshipped without Gornitai. After some time, they established a deity of Mahaprabhu by his side, just as in the headquarters of Mahaprabhu of Bhaktisiddhanta. And now there's Gornitai. Lord Nityananda was placed by his side. So either way, because it's implicit rather than explicit. Your bhakti is not being checked. Your access to spontaneous devotion is not being checked, because you don't get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya without the mercy of Lord Nityananda. And how do you get the mercy of Lord Nityananda? It's not just by having his deity by the side. You follow? Okay. I think we'll end. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.